They mock the PTA mom in the plain navy tracksuit. 14 seconds later, the gym's cockiest brown belt was tapping frantically inside her triangle choke. The slap of silence that followed was louder than any roar. They assumed she was someone's mom, maybe lost on her way to a Zumba class. Selena Brooks stepped into Iron Circle BJJ Academy in Wichita, Kansas, wearing a plain navy tracksuit and a faded gray t-shirt. No brand logos, no flashy gym bag. Just a woman who looked like she'd rather be dropping off snacks for a bake sale than walking into a mat room that smelled like tiger balm and old sweat. She didn't say much when she came in. The overhead fans buzzed, drowning out the low hum of conversation between students stretching or drilling takedowns. The receptionist, a kid barely into his 20s named Logan, didn't even look up from his tablet. "Waivers here," he muttered, sliding the clipboard toward her, like she was applying for a gym trial and not stepping into something sacred. "Thanks," Selena said, her voice quiet, but not unsure. She filled it out quickly and neatly handed it back and took a seat along the edge of the room. Nobody offered a smile. Nobody introduced themselves. The mats were alive with movement, bodies twisting limbs, grappling, the occasional slap and grunt from a hard roll in progress. Across the room, a tall, lean man with a brown belt tied high on his hips strutted past the beginners area. His name was Derek, and everyone knew he'd tell you that even if you didn't ask. He'd won a local tournament once, had a highlight reel he posted every 6 months, and liked being the loudest guy in any room. When he noticed Selena, he raised a brow, then grinned. "Looks like PTA squad just walked in," he said loud enough for everyone to hear. A few chuckles followed. "Hope we've got some beginner drills ready. Maybe some light stretching chair yoga." Selena didn't react. She just watched. She'd heard worse. Coach Harris, mid-40s, former Marine, barrel-chested with a sharp eye and a no-nonsense air, called the class to order. "Warm-ups! Let's go, people!" he barked, pointing toward the far end of the mat. Selena stood calmly, kicked off her sneakers, and walked barefoot across the mat. Her steps were quiet, deliberate. She bowed slightly to the space out of habit more than anything, enjoying the line. No hesitation. They started with hip escapes. Most beginners flailed a little, elbows wide, knees flopping. But Selena moved with rhythm. Crisp, clean shrimps. Shoulder blades kissed the mat, heels dug in at the right angle. No wasted motion. She didn't look around to check if anyone was watching, but they were. Then bridges. She flowed into them like it was choreography. Controlled, powerful, balanced. A few white belts near her side of the mat stole glances. One nudged the other. "Yo, you see that she's smooth. She's done this before, right? I don't know." Logan didn't say anything. Coach Harris walked past, slowing just a bit as he saw her finish a set of technical stand-ups with barely a pause between reps. His face gave nothing away, but his eyes lingered. Still, most of the room didn't notice. Derek definitely didn't. He was too busy adjusting his knee brace and recounting a time he almost got DQ'd for being too aggressive. When drills started, Coach split the class. Colored belts to one side, beginners to the other. Selena, without complaint, walked to the beginners group. She paired with a thin, awkward teenager named Miles, who wore tape around every finger and looked like he'd rather vanish than get picked for anything. "You okay partnering with me?" Selena asked, tone even. Miles shrugged, eyes darting. Sure. Yeah." They practiced scissor sweeps. He was clumsy but attentive. Selena adjusted his elbow, guided his hips with a light touch. "Try anchoring your foot here instead," she said. "It gives you more leverage." He blinked. "Wait, you've done this before?" She smiled. "A little." From across the room, Derek noticed. "Yo, she giving out private lessons already," he called. "What's next? Teaching us how to make banana bread between rounds." Laughter followed, not loud, but the kind of laughter people join in so they don't get singled out. Selena didn't flinch. The hour passed slowly for some, but not for her. She moved with purpose, but not performance. She helped Miles without talking down to him. She listened to Coach's instructions, followed every rep like it mattered. When Coach finally clapped his hands and called for open mat, sparring energy shifted. People bounced on their feet, tied belts tighter, looked around for partners. Derek stood up and clapped dramatically. "All right, let's have some fun." "What do you say, Selena? Right, want to roll?" It wasn't an invitation, it was bait. The room quieted. A few students paused mid-conversation. Logan, finally looking up from behind the desk, leaned forward a little. Selena nodded once. Sure. No dramatics. No psych-up ritual. She walked to the center of the mat, bowed, and squared up. Derek grinned like a man about to put on a show. He bowed mockingly. Try not to hurt me, okay? They touched hands, then fists. The moment froze. Selena moved first. It wasn't explosive. It was precise. She pulled guard effortlessly, catching Derek mid-step and off balance. His weight shifted, and he tried to adjust, but her hips were already shifting. Her left leg climbed high, draped over his shoulder. Her right snuck under and locked. Triangle. Deep. Tight. Derek's eyes bulged. He tried to posture up. Too late. Selena shifted her hips a fraction. Squeezed. Tap. 1, 2, 3. 14 seconds. The gym went dead silent. Derek sat back stunned. Red-faced. Chest heaving. Selena let go, rolled back to a seated position, and bowed her head slightly. Then she stood and walked back toward the wall, grabbing her towel and steel water bottle. She didn't look back. She didn't smile. She just sat. For a moment, nobody spoke. Then someone near the back muttered, "What just happened?" Miles stared wide-eyed. That was perfect. Even Coach Harris had stopped moving. His arms crossed, brow furrowed, watching her carefully now. Derek stayed on the mat, blinking like the room had shifted under him. And maybe it had. He stood awkward, adjusted his belt, and shuffled to the far corner, avoiding every eye in the room. Nobody laughed. No one made a joke. Not anymore. Selena sat quietly, dabbing sweat from her face. Her breathing was steady, her posture relaxed. Presence without noise. That was all it took. And even though no one knew it yet, this room would never look at her the same way again. The silence after Derek's tap out still hung in the air when Selena sat back down against the wall. Her steel water bottle cool in her hand, a light sheen of sweat across her forehead. She hadn't looked at him once after the roll. Didn't need to. She wasn't there for him. She wasn't there for any of them. But now they were all looking at her, not with the smirking disbelief from earlier, but with that unsettled, shifting kind of attention people give when they realize they've misread the whole story. Coach Harris hadn't said anything, but he'd seen it. He saw it in the way she set up the choke and the timing, the subtle hip angle, the way she never rushed. That wasn't YouTube drilling. That was the kind of precision that came from years, decades even, and she'd done it without a word. The next role she partnered with Josh, mid-30s, fit, serious, always working an escape. He was respectful but cautious, still unsure if what he'd seen with Derek was a fluke. It wasn't. Selena tapped him in under 2 minutes with a clean armbar from mount, then again with a back take into bow and arrow choke. She didn't celebrate. She helped him up, nodded, and reset. After that, Emily stepped in. Young, sharp, a blue belt who moved well and had tournament grit in her jaw. They rolled longer. Emily kept pressure, tried to scramble, attempted a Kimura from side control, but Selena floated right out of it. Smooth, calm, like water flowing downhill. Emily ended up tapping too. Rear naked choke, clean, tight, no pain, just skill. When it was over, Emily sat up, catching her breath. "You've done this a long time," she said. Selena just gave a small, quiet smile. "Yeah," she said. "I have." That was when Coach Harris finally stepped over. His arms folded, that familiar line between his brows drawn a little tighter now. "You said you were new to the gym," he said. "That's true," Selena answered. "Where'd you train before?" She wiped the back of her neck with a towel. "Brazil, Recife." The name hit like a soft brick. A few heads turned. Josh paused mid-drink. Emily blinked. Coach tilted his head. "How long were you there?" 4 years, Selena said. Under Mestre Raul. The reaction wasn't loud, but it was definite. Even Logan at the front desk looked up from his phone. Mestre Raul wasn't a name you dropped lightly. He was a legend, a phantom of old-school jiu-jitsu. Stories of his academy floated around the BJJ community like myth, no air conditioning, cement floors, 6-day weeks. If you trained there, you earned every ounce of it. Coach narrowed his eyes. "You a black belt?" Selena hesitated just a moment, then nodded slowly. "I was. I am. I just don't wear it anymore." The room stayed still. No one laughed. No one scoffed. That kind of statement didn't ask for belief. It carried its own proof. Coach didn't say anything at first, just gave a small nod, then turned and walked away to check on another pair. But his body language had shifted. Not suspicious, not dismissive, just aware. From then on, the tone in the room changed. They didn't treat her like royalty. That wasn't her vibe. But the cheap jokes stopped. The glances came slower. The distance narrowed. Between rounds, Miles walked over and stood a few feet away, like he wanted to say something, but hadn't figured out how to start. Selena looked up. "You did great earlier," she said. "That unlocked him. You really got him. Derek, I mean." "He left an opening," she replied. "Sometimes people forget basics when they think they're in control." He grinned. "That was awesome." Selena smiled but didn't add anything. She didn't need to. That night after class, she drove home in the dark, the streetlights smearing across her windshield as soft jazz filled the silence of the car. Her hands rested on the steering wheel at red lights, still steady, but her thoughts weren't in Wichita anymore. They were thousands of miles away on sun-baked concrete in Recife, Brazil. 15 years earlier, she'd walked barefoot into Mestre Raul's gym with hands that still trembled from holding custody paperwork and a heart cracked wide open from postpartum depression. Ava was barely a year old. Her sister Michelle had taken her in and said, "Go get your head right. We'll be here when you come back." She'd landed in Brazil with nothing but a duffel bag, a passport, and a recommendation from a friend of a friend. The first week nearly broke her. No AC, no padded mats, no sweet encouragement. Just sweat, pain, repetition, and silence. Raul didn't offer compliments, didn't give out belts like candy. But after her third day, after she withstood a 2-hour drilling session with a busted lip and bruised ribs, he simply muttered, "Fica. Você tem espírito. Stay. You have spirit." So she stayed. For 4 years. She trained every day except Sundays. Mornings before sunrise, evenings after chores. She sparred with locals, taught kids classes, even competed in underground circuits a few times. Her GI was always plain. Her belt, eventually black, never advertised. There were no Instagram clips, no seminar tours, no applause, just her learning how to breathe again. She left when Michelle had a health scare, and Ava needed her mom full-time. Back in the States, she packed the belt in a canvas bag and went back to work. Medical billing, part-time shifts, whatever paid the rent. She told herself it was just a phase, that maybe she'd train again someday. But life didn't slow down. Ava grew up, Michelle passed, bills piled up, and the gym. It felt like a ghost from another life, until a few months ago, a Tuesday night like any other. She'd finished a long shift, microwaved leftovers, and was folding laundry when she found an old USB drive at the bottom of a drawer. On a whim, she plugged it in. Grainy footage flickered to life, her in Recife, rolling smooth through transitions, chaining together passes with calm efficiency. She watched the whole thing. Then again. Then again. Something stirred. Not loud. Not urgent. Just a quiet thrum in her chest that hadn't sounded in years. The next day, she looked up local gyms. Iron Circle had no frills, no contracts, and a trial class that same week. She signed up anonymously. No background. No questions. Just a name and a date. She told no one, not even Ava, because it wasn't about impressing anyone. It was about remembering. Back in the present, she pulled into the driveway of her modest home on the south side of Wichita. Porch light flickering, lawn half mowed. But it was hers. She walked in, dropped her bag, and headed to the kitchen. Ava, now 17, was at the table, earbuds dangling, and homework sprawled around her. "Hey," Ava said. "You're home late. Gym okay?" Selena grabbed a glass of water. "Yeah, it was good." Ava looked up. "You roll with anyone?" Selena cracked a soft grin. "A few people." Ava laughed. "Bet they didn't see you coming." Selena just nodded her eyes, saying more than her words ever would. After dinner and dishes, when the house had gone quiet, Selena went into her bedroom, knelt beside the bed, and pulled out the old canvas bag, the one with her gi and belt. She unzipped it slowly, fingers brushing against the fabric. Her black belt, worn smooth, still smelled faintly of eucalyptus oil and red clay. She didn't pull it out, just held it for a moment, then zipped the bag shut again, not because she was ashamed, but because she didn't need to wear it, not yet. She knew who she was. That was enough. The next morning, the old canvas bag still sat at the foot of her bed, unopened since the night before. Selena Brooks stood in front of the mirror in her small, sunlit bathroom, hair tied back, face bare, eyes steady. She didn't rush, didn't fidget, just stood there for a moment, letting the quiet settle. Down the hall, she could hear Ava flipping through kitchen cabinets and the distant hum of her electric toothbrush, the rhythm of a normal day. But inside Selena, something subtle had shifted. Not dramatic, not some burst of confidence, just a centeredness she hadn't felt in years. A kind of alignment, like her body had caught up with her spirit. At Iron Circle the night before, she hadn't just rolled. She'd remembered, not just the techniques or the discipline, but herself. Who she had been, who she still was, even after all the years off the mat, after all the detours and sacrifices. And the gym had remembered too, not with words, but in the way they looked at her afterward. Fewer side glances, fewer assumptions. Something softer, more respectful. Even the silence felt different. At breakfast, Ava sat at the counter, cereal bowl in hand, eyes half on her phone, half on her mom. So she said, between bites, you gonna go back tonight? Selena poured herself a cup of coffee, her movements slow and deliberate. I might, Ava smirked. You should. I think it's good for you. You look lighter, not like skinny lighter, like less stressed. Selena raised an eyebrow. That your way of saying I was cranky? Ava shrugged. I mean, you weren't exactly sunshine these last few months. Selena chuckled, took a sip, then nodded. Fair. That evening, she returned to Iron Circle without a second thought. No nerves, no debate. She walked in like someone who belonged because she did. Logan greeted her with a little more energy than before. Hey, Selena, he said, actually meeting her eyes. Coach is setting up for drills if you want to jump in. She nodded and headed to the mat, slipping off her shoes and bowing in without fanfare. The air felt different now, not just around her, but in the whole gym. Students who'd ignored her 2 nights ago now nodded in greeting. Josh gave her a respectful smile. Emily waved. Miles, the shy teenager she'd partnered with during her first class, practically lit up when he saw her. You're back, he said, almost like a kid surprised his favorite guest return. Glad you came. Me too, Selena said softly. During class, she partnered with Emily again. They drilled transitions from side control to mount, then switched to neon belly pressure drills. Emily struggled a little with her balance, and without hesitation, Selena offered a small correction. Try posting your hand out just a bit more, right there. You'll keep your weight better that way. Emily adjusted, tried again, and smiled. Whoa, that helped a lot. Coach Harris watched from the edge of the mat. He didn't interrupt, just observed. When drills ended, he called everyone in. All right, circle up. The students gathered, some sitting cross-legged, some kneeling, all breathing hard. Coach looked out over them, arms folded across his chest. Some of y'all have been here a long time, he said, voice even but firm. You know how I feel about belts, ranks earned, through time, through sweat, not through talking. He paused, letting the words land. But this week, y'all got reminded of something else. That real skill doesn't always walk through the door announcing itself. A few glances shifted toward Selena. No stares, just quiet acknowledgement. Coach continued. Some of you laughed, some made assumptions. But jiu-jitsu's about more than the mat. It's about humility, about presence. You saw that. You felt it. His eyes met Selena's for just a beat. So maybe next time think twice before judging someone by what they wear or how they walk in. Silence held. Then Emily raised her hand, a little hesitant. Coach, would you ever let her, maybe someday, teach a class? A few murmurs followed, not mocking this time. Hopeful, curious. Coach gave a small smile. We'll talk about that, he said, then clapped his hands. All right, hydrate and reset. Open mat starts in 10. As students stood and dispersed, a few lingered near Selena. Josh approached first. Hey, he said, a little awkward. Just wanted to say thanks for the role and for showing what control really looks like. You moved well, she replied. Keep it up. Miles stepped in next. I've been working on those sweeps you showed me. I think I'm getting better. You are, Selena said. You've got good instincts. Trust them. Emily joined in too. If you ever do teach, I'm signing up. Just saying. Selena gave a quiet chuckle. I'll keep that in mind. The only person who hadn't said anything was Derek. He'd rolled twice that night, quieter than usual, more focused, no jokes. As Selena packed up, he walked over, not meeting her eyes at first. "Hey," he said, scratching the back of his neck. "I was out of line. The other night, I judged. Didn't know who I was talking to." Selena didn't let him off easy. She didn't soften it. She just met his gaze and said, "Yeah, you did." He nodded, took the hit. "Won't happen again." She nodded once, then turned and walked out. That night at home, after Ava had gone to bed, Selena sat in her room with the lights low. She reached under her bed and pulled out the canvas bag again. Slowly unzipped it. This time she didn't just touch the belt. She took it out, unfurled it in her hands. It was frayed in spots, faded to a soft charcoal, the stitching worn smooth. She held it across her lap and stared at it for a long while. Not with longing, with clarity, with ownership. She ran her fingers across the end where her name had once been embroidered in gold, long since rubbed away. She wasn't ready to tie it around her waist yet, but she was done pretending it didn't exist. She folded it neatly, placed it back in the bag, and zipped it up. Then she picked up her phone. A short text to Coach Harris, "Happy to help out on Tuesdays if you ever need an extra hand." "No pressure." His reply came minutes later. "We'd love that. Let's talk tomorrow." Selena set the phone down, stood and faced the mirror once more. Her reflection looked back at her hair tied back, no makeup, eyes steady. The same woman who walked into Iron Circle days ago. But now the room would see her differently. Not because she talked louder or flashed her rank, but because she showed up. Because presence speaks louder than stripes. Because sometimes the most powerful belt isn't the one you wear, it's the one you carry quietly like a truth no one can take away. Selena Brooks didn't win the room by talking louder. She won it by standing tall in her own quiet way. Her story offers 3 timeless lessons for anyone navigating work, family, or personal growth, especially those of us who've logged a few decades of life experience and know that depth matters more than flash. Never assume you know someone's story. Selena walked in wearing a no-name tracksuit, and half the class wrote her off as someone's mom. Minutes later, she was submitting the gym's loudest brown belt. In everyday life, we do the same thing, judging a cashier by her uniform, a retiree by his slow gait, or a young employee by his nervous tone. Slow down, ask a question, offer a seat at the table. You'll be surprised how often greatness is wrapped in plain paper. Real confidence whispers while insecurity shouts. Selena never bragged about Brazil or her black belt. She just rolled. Contrast that with Derek's show-and-tell attitude. The takeaway: when you know your worth, you don't need to broadcast it. If you're tempted to oversell yourself on social media, in meetings, even at the family barbecue, pause and let your work make the statement. A steady record of integrity will outlast any highlight reel. It's not too late to pick the passion back up. 4 years of elite training sat dormant in a canvas bag while Selena raised her daughter and paid the bills. One grainy video was all it took to reignite that spark. Whether your canvas bag is a guitar in the closet, a half-finished novel, or a pair of hiking boots gathering dust, today is a good day to unzip it. Schedule the class, open the file, lace the shoes. Action, not age, decides momentum. Give a silent champion space to shine. In your workplace or community group, invite someone quiet to share an idea or lead a segment. Watch what happens. Track a private goal. Pick one skill you value and log 10 focused minutes a day. No posts, no selfies. After a month, reflect on the change. Revisit an old love. Pull out that neglected hobby by Friday night. Set one measurable milestone, finish a sketch, learn a song intro, walk a mile without stopping. Remember, progress isn't always loud, but the results echo for years. From all of us behind this channel, thank you for carving out time to listen, learn, and grow alongside these narratives. Your comments and shares turn simple stories into a community conversation about grit, respect, and second chances. If Selena's quiet strength struck a chord, consider passing her lesson along to a friend who could use a nudge. And if you've got your own comeback tale, drop it below. We read every word. Stay humble, stay determined, and keep showing up. The world may overlook quiet power, but it never forgets the impact once it's felt.